So, you want to know how to end colorism. Well, if you're looking for a quick fix, I'm sorry to tell you there's no easy answer. The issue is as complicated as any other social problem, but we must start somewhere. And the fact that you're listening to this is a good sign that we can and will make progress in our efforts to stop the cycle of colorism. There are various strategies, practical things we can do to end colorism. I get into some of those in other blog posts. Here, I want to talk less about specific tactics to end colorism and more about what it takes to end colorism. Here are the basic ingredients we need to effectively address this issue. The first ingredient is courage and honesty. Courage and honesty must be at the core of everything we say and do in the struggle to end colorism. Why courage? First, colorism is one of those, quote, controversial issues that many people passionately disagree about. I'm gaining critics and enemies with every word I write or speak, not intentionally, but inevitably so. If you're not ready or willing to deal with criticism, personal attacks, confrontation, and loss, then you won't be effective in this fight. It's going to take courage to speak up in a group of friends or family and denounce an act of colorism. Second, it takes courage to be honest. Why honesty? We can't heal unless we know precisely what needs to be healed. Are we expressing insecurities about ourselves or prejudices against others? Have we been hurt by others or have we been hurting others? Is a particular situation a case of colorism or merely coincidence? If it is colorism, and if you suspect it is, you're probably right, we have to be honest and say that it is. If we are insecure, we have to be honest and say we are. If we are prejudiced, we have to be honest and admit it. Are you ready for that? Good. Then let's continue. The next ingredient that we need in our effort to heal colorism is whole communities. No matter what race or color, we have all been complicit in perpetuating colorism. Usually, when we talk about colorism in general conversations, we're limited to the individual interpersonal experience. Sometimes we only think of colorism as that girl's insecurity or that girl's low self-esteem or that girl's jealousy. Would we solve racism by merely teaching Black and brown people to love themselves? Would we solve sexism by merely telling women they just need to love themselves? You can love yourself all you want and still be negatively impacted by colorism in the larger society. All the self-love in the world won't stop a kid from getting shot and killed because of how someone else perceives him. Now, I'm all for self-love. I really am, and I have other videos to prove it. But too often we pretend like that alone is the answer to colorism. Perhaps we're too afraid or too self-absorbed or whatever to confront the rest of the problem. In order to really heal from colorism, we must seek to address it at the community level, just like we do with racism, sexism, or crime, and stop centralizing the problem and its solutions on individual people. Next, we need whole families. I could have lumped this into the community section, but it's such an important and complex piece of the puzzle that it needs to be singled out. For many people, the earliest and clearest ideas about skin color, hair texture, and features come from family members. This includes parents, grandparents, siblings, cousins, aunts, and uncles. Although a lot of people point to the media as a primary factor in colorism, I think what goes on in our families is even more important. When we consume media, we're merely observing strangers. Although those images are powerful, discrimination within our own families is actually a lived experience that directly involves us and those we have intimate relationships with, making it that much more painful and traumatic. The family's role in healing colorism is twofold. First, families must say and do as many positive things as possible to promote the love, care, and nurturing, affirming of dark skin. All skin tones, but particularly dark skin tones because of the positioning of dark skin in the larger society. Second, families must openly and lovingly address instances of colorism whenever they happen. Ignoring, laughing off, or excusing an act of colorism is just as bad as committing an act of colorism. Most of us just let tough or potentially confrontational situations slip by without saying anything. But in the words of Audre Lorde, your silence will not protect you. And it certainly will not help to end colorism. Many victims of colorism within families believe they have no voice and no ally. You could be the courageous person in your family who saves your niece, nephew, cousin, daughter, son, brother, or sister by affirming them and standing up for them whenever you see colorism happening. Another thing we have to end colorism are individuals. In order to heal families and communities, we must heal ourselves. We know how the saying goes, hurt people hurt people. And I've recently heard that healed people heal people. Until we deal with our own individual issues, whether it's prejudice, insecurity, we're likely to continue spreading the germ of colorism. And the world does not need our colorism germs. The next necessity for ending colorism is a little different. The first one was about our mentalities, and the others have been about the people involved. This one is likely to be a lot of people's favorite, because if you've made it this far, you're probably committed to actually working to end colorism. This will separate those who think colorism is a interesting topic for discussion from those like you who are ready to do something to end it. The final ingredient is action, but specifically it's persistent action over time. Whatever actions we take in the fight against colorism, we must persist over time, most likely for the rest of our lives. When I talk to some people about colorism, they seem shocked that it's still going on. I question that reaction because we all know that problems don't just go away on their own. What makes these people think that colorism should have just evaporated over time all by itself? The world needs you to help put an end to colorism. To get ideas and tips on how to take action, choose one of the videos on the screen here for even more informative content. Thanks for listening. Please join me for the next one.